So here we go.
Yeah.
Testing, guys. Testing.
Testing.
Father Deacon sounds fine to
You
me.
can hear me? Ah! Hello.
I hear his audio. Hot mic.
You hear?
That's fine. The music, they're seeing again, because they're on a delay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
See? It solved it, right? Sounds good? Sounds good.
Coming in clear. Glory to God. I lowered my hearing aids frequency. It wasn't us, though. That's what's the craziest thing. We didn't do anything besides in the stream, logged out of, or create a new Zoom meeting, and then started back up.
Oh, I'm going to add that to my new fallacy list. When you blame people and it's not their fault. Fallacy.
It's the boomer tech fallacy.
Don't let me forget to share like all the funny ones that I've come up with.
Because no, definitely.
We left off on the fact that, look, it's not like it's written in stone, literally the name red herring or something like that. It's the idea that it refers to is, again, it doesn't have a connection logically. It does not follow to the conclusion one's trying to establish. And so you can get cute with the names. You can create your own names, right? Because there's all these realities of what people do in which things don't actually follow. The premises aren't logically connected to the conclusions. So again, I hear people say, like, there's no such thing as that fallacy. It doesn't matter. The concept's there. So let's go back to red herring. Red herring came from, again, imagine you're a criminal and you bust out of prison and you're on the run. And now they've got the bloodhounds. They're trying to track you down. Well, what criminals would do is, escape convicts, is that they would get a stinky fish called a red herring. And they would get the bloodhounds and the people chasing them off the main track where they're at.
Oh, very interesting.
So that's where we get, like, somebody can do that, can actually start interjecting other premises or arguments that are not related to actually what you're trying to argue for. And because we're so prone to always want to just answer whatever the question somebody puts out there, and you don't have to do that, by the way. There is no law out there that says you have to answer every question that's given to you. If you're able to realize that the argument that somebody's giving is not the actual argument that we're talking about or the conclusion we're trying to get at, you can call them on red herring. Irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It's not, that'd be a whole nother argument or something like that. It's to get you off the main track. That would be a red herring.
So one of the fallacies that I didn't know was a fallacy until today, that people level at J all the time, is the tone policing fallacy. I didn't even know that was a fallacy. You know how people won't, because there's been a few different people, especially some of the Catholic apologists. We'll leave names out of it, but you're
a meanie.
Yeah, that you're not going. We won't debate unless you promise to do this. X, Y, Z, because you say mean things. Maybe we can call this the Trump fallacy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the tone policing fallacy. When I was looking at some of the informal fallacies, I read that and I go, oh my gosh, that's basically how the Catholics feel about Jay.
Yeah. I did a prayer to God the other day and I thanked the Lord that Jay was so mean. I'm like, we need mean apologists. So basically what you're saying is that, we all have different personalities, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear this all the time where it's like, oh, you should never act. I mean, Saint Seraphim of Sarah wouldn't.
Father, could you speak towards the microphone?
Yep. Yeah, sorry. Saint Seraphim of Sarah wouldn't act that way. And he would, just be in peace, and he'd never like fight in a war. Or, like, It's like, yep, we have warrior saints too. Like
Exactly. St. George.
Like-
That's why I got him right here.
yeah, my favorite, especially the women, Saint Olga
Oh,
of Kiev. Oh yeah,
Olga
Like,
just
if we
sounds
hadn't-
like a woman you don't want to mess with.
Oh man, have you seen the one where she's like this, and her eyes are, and she's releasing like all the birds with flames burning down to burn down the city? And I was like, man, if we had more women like that. But not that every woman has to be like that. Again, we're all given different gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So taking it back to what you're saying, though, well, it doesn't. So what's the conclusion? Jay, like, if Jay was mean to you, first of all, if Jay was mean to you, you probably deserved it. Like all these people that complain, it's because they get all salty and uppity and nasty in the Discord or the debates, and they get called out. Now, I personally wouldn't do that, but I'm, I have a different character. I'm also clergy and stuff like that. But that doesn't. What does that mean? Jay's argument's wrong
Right.
because he had to get a little rough with you. Like, yeah, that would be, if that's your argument, that's a fallacy. Oh, let's rename actually informal fallacies. So I gave you a really technical definition of that.
Right. Right.
In which the premises are not logically connected to the conclusions such that they're non sequiturs. Okay, but let's just boil it down for the masses. Okay, what's informal fallacy? Making bad arguments appear good. So they're either products of a mistake in your reasoning, or a creation of an illusion.
Mm-hmm. I have a list of some of the ones that I noticed the most. Maybe we could speak about these specific fallacies. So I recently just checked out, because everybody was tweeting about it online, the Nick Fuentes I forget what his first name is, something Barnes debate on InfoWars, and it was about the Palestinian-Israel conflict.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to watch that.
And so Barnes was in favor of Israel. Fuentes is making the case that Israel isn't the greatest ally of America, and that we basically have an Israel first international policy. And he would lay out a case, and what I noticed, almost every response by Attorney Barnes, I forget, again, I apologize, I don't remember his first name, was the poisoning... Attorney Barney Rubble. Was poisoning the well. Every time he began, it was like, well, anybody who knows anything about this knows that this is, they wouldn't do this, or this comes from this place. And it just seems like he kept associating, it was a straw man fallacy, the poisoning of the well fallacy, that wherever he would make a claim, Fuentes would make a claim, and then it seemed like he would poison the well immediately and then go off in a tangent in a different direction. You want to speak to the straw man poisoning the well fallacy?
Yeah, so again, a lot of these fallacies can be subsumed under other fallacies, or like a species or type of. And poisoning well really is kind of an ad hominem fallacy. And so ad hominem is a attack to the person. So traditionally, it kind of, or let's put it this way, in a general sense, let me just turn this up a little bit more. When you attack somebody's character rather than their argument, or you place attack on the person in some way or another, and not the actual argument or the content of the argument, you're doing an ad hominem. So poisoning the well is a type of ad hominem in which you'd place your the person you're arguing against in a position that they're unable to reply. So, well, it's like, well, poisoning the well, right? It ruins the water. So no matter how good or pure your argument is, once you put poison in it, right, it's the whole thing is like corrupted, right?
Right.
So I guess if you called somebody like well, that sounds like an argument a racist would make. You've poisoned the well, right? There's no way you can recover. Once you get that one put on you, there is no way you're going to recover from. So I don't know exactly what he was doing. Was it something like that where?
So I guess it wasn't so much in that, again, and I'm trying to work through these fallacies myself. It was more that whenever he would make a claim, instead of addressing the claim, it was always a questioning that anybody who knows this would never make that, and then he would move on to a totally different. And it seemed like that's why I thought it was sort of poisoning the well, is the association of him with whatever group of people he's trying to identify with, and then not really addressing any of his arguments, but moving then in a different direction because it's already been tainted. Like there's no reason to address that critique because anybody who knows anything about anything wouldn't.
Yeah, and by the way, you can have several different fallacies identified, and so it sounds to me like, in one sense, as soon as you say anyone who knows anything about, well, that could be an appeal to authority. It could be a fallacy of hasty generalization, or fallacy of ambiguity, like. Who's anybody that knows anything about anything? Like who are these people? Right. If he then put, and if you're not one of the good guys, you're either with us or you're terrorists, right? That's kind of a poison. Then you're immediately
then maybe
put
I was using
into
it the wrong way then, because it wasn't as directly an ad hominem like that. It was more of the argument. He was dismissing the argument based on. He would just make a general claim that basically if somebody was more educated, or if they knew this, or they knew what happened in the 70s, then they wouldn't make that, and then he wouldn't continue on to actually rebut the argument. It was like it was already dismissed.
Yeah, so that's what I said. I think you can identify several in there. You could even have it's a red herring. Also, it could be begging the question fallacy. That assumes there are knowers and that they got the right answer, but that's exactly what's in question. You can't use that to prove your point until you've proven that is true. And so it sounds to me like that's begging the question. Yeah, it's maybe circular reasoning.
Maybe that's a good one.
It's actually kind of fun to be able to go through.
Maybe
and identify.
A follow-up would be to watch a debate full of fallacies and just go through and start to identify them to help people. That would be really useful.
I've done that with my students. Like we've just taken like videos and stuff like that, and I'll stop it. In fact, I actually brought my after we did a review for the final one of my classes, since I was doing it for this class, I was doing it online. I just brought everybody into the Discord and streamed it. And as Jay was debating a pagan. And then I'd mute it and explain to them what was going on in the debate. I'm like, what? And then I'd actually predict. I'm like, watch, $1,000, the pagan's going to now try to argue this. And then I'd unmute it and he'd say the exact, they're like, how do you know that? I'm never going to be surprised. Like once you kind of learn like how people play these games and stuff like that, exactly the moves where they're going to go. Right. And I thought that was very fruitful. They were able to learn a lot about. I'm like, watch, Jay's going to call him out on this logical fact, and bam, called him out on that fallacy. And that's kind of good, just to kind of go through and watch and be able to pick that out all together. I think I'd like to do more stuff of that.
Yeah, I know he's covered some streams with our streams reviewing debates, like with William Lane Craig and Sam Harris and stuff like that. So probably not as obvious. Well, Sam Harris has a lot of fallacies actually.
Oh, they're the best. They're so fun to watch. By the way, I heard one the other day that you'll get this a lot too, false cause. And you're especially going to get this a lot within what people, when they're talking about science. Or or claiming to be science. A false cause occurs when the link between premises and conclusion depends on some imagined causal connection. So specifically within what people want to say is science, it would be correlation doesn't equal causation.
Right.
Is so what was the funny one? Well, we all started, let's say we all started wearing our masks and getting stabbies, and the numbers went down. But what if I said, well, wait a minute, we all started eating more ice cream and dairy? I think it's the ice cream and dairy that caused then people would be like, oh, no. That's a false cause, right?
Right.
Correlation doesn't. Well, how do we know? It's very difficult to actually prove that something's not correlation and that it's causation. In philosophy of science, in science itself, you have things like Koch's postulate and different things in which you try to establish that it's actual causal, not just correlation. But most of the people out there aren't doing that. They have no idea. So they're actually making this mistake. But the funny one that I heard the other day, I couldn't believe it. This guy came in, this Roman Catholic guy, into Discord and said, was it in Discord or was on somebody's, I think it was in Jade's chat on one of the streams he was doing, and said, Constantinople fell and you lost your empire because you embraced the filioque.
What?
Yeah. The reason why bad thing happened to you is because this other bad thing. Okay, well, two fallacies right there. Begging the question, you're assuming the filioque is actually something good. You got to prove that. You can't just assert, right? And that we're wrong on the hold that was actually incorrect. So you could call them out on that. But it's also a false cause. So even if I granted the opponent, be like, you know what, we done messed up. Okay, we done messed up. We got, we didn't accept the filioque. You're right, Rome. Like, we should have done that. I'm so sorry. You're still committing a fallacy. Even if I granted that, you're still committing a fallacy of false cause that the two things are causally linked. So sometimes it's called post hoc propter ergo hoc. After this, because of this. So simply because one thing is coming after, it doesn't mean it's because of this other thing. So that's a false cause. So I see a lot of those. That was kind of fun. So I love to do is just like think basically through the day of like how many, that's what I do. I just practice. So like on how many fallacies. I just walk around the town and turn the TV on and go on.
Does it irritate you?
No, it actually, it humors me. Like, because it's a form, isn't comedy a form of a species of the absurd? There's like a weird mixture of something that's both off. It's not the way it should be, but it's presenting itself as actually being true, or like in a way that it doesn't move into tragedy. So maybe it just depends, I guess. And I guess it could be like tragic, but it's just so absurd sometimes and silly.
Right.
That like I've just kind of learned to actually enjoy identifying it and but it is I think that like overall, if I step back, it's generally frustrating, or maybe that's just a coping mechanism.
Well, I noticed just regarding my own spirituality and trying to be better each day is that I've noticed lately, just under my breath, going to a gas station and seeing a guy my age who is perceived healthy wearing a mask and still social distancing despite my state being open. And I'm just, and I say to myself, what an idiot. Or, I start, and I catch myself and I'm like, I'm developing a very bad.
You're turning into a
attitude.
misanthrope.
No, I just keep walking around the world and like, just under my, if we talk though, I'd be very cordial. It's just like I'm developing this disposition, which I'm beginning to recognize of with everything that's going on, the nonsense. And yeah, so that's why I asked you, somebody who can perceive these logical fallacies or these veridical errors in society more readily, that I feel like I'd start calling everybody an idiot.
Oh, I have to catch myself. So, because you can really become misanthropic and be like, why isn't everybody logical like me? What an idiot. Look at this idiot. Hey, sweetheart, come here. Look at this. Got two idiots out here at the gas station. Oh my God, you gotta see. This is insane. Right? So I just try to like, I'll fall into that. Like, and that could like give you like a sort of sense of pride. I just have to kind of remind myself that like, you know what? I might be better logically at this. Doesn't mean I'm a better person. Fact, maybe I should actually start turning inwardly. Maybe I'm not making, the logical sins, but I'm doing all kinds of other stuff. Like, and I'm a mess. And that kind of helps me the more I kind of focus on how much like spiritual work I need to do in myself. Like, it kind of helps me feel a bit more compassionate for them. Like, God, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They're being manipulated by demons and the culture and stuff like that. Right. It's not like I'm walking around with those saintly thoughts all the time. It's like, it's a rule that I have to keep reminding myself. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm falling into, I've got to do that. Otherwise you will just kind of turn into a bitter, angry. So I just try to remind myself to be like compassionate, and I get that way by kind of looking at my own. It's like the Saint Ephraim prayer, help me to see my own sins,
right,
and not the sins of
the blindness of pride is pretty difficult to deal with. No matter in that delicate balance is like when you're trying to become good at something, and so there's like this balance between becoming competent, better, which is gives you a sense of pride. It could be in a healthy way, but when that gets out of control. And so that's what, since my state opened, that's when I've noticed this more frustration and how it's creeping up underneath just my general thoughts around society. It's like, okay, well, you need to get that in check. And so
it's really a knife's edge too, because you always want to go into the either extremes where it's like you don't fight and don't say anything ever at all. And just be like, I'll focus completely on myself. Or then when you're like, well, I need to fight this stuff, and then it goes too far the other way where you're not, like, it's really hard to go keep that balance, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, I just noticed myself driving. That's like where I have to do the most of my repentance.
Oh my gosh, I've gone to confession so many times because actually it's gotten better since I moved up to Montana. I don't think I've had to go to confession for like incidences in my car or something like that. But in California, I did. Like I was like, just a temptation itself was just that would arise of being in a car and having to deal with like people.
Yeah. So
let's go over some more.
Yeah. So we're getting off.
This is fun. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I was asking you questions because, I mean, this is an authentic conversation trying to work our way through the world right now. But another one of the more frequent ones I noticed, and so obviously the straw man fallacy, you just talked about poisoning the well and how...
we didn't do the straw man. Let's do the straw man.
Do the straw man.
Watch me do a straw man. That's a fallacy. If you ever see somebody on the street doing that, you can call them out and be like, there, he's got him. The straw man.
Right in his tracks. Stopped him right in his tracks with that air.
So it was so funny the other day. I'd posted, did you ever see Children of the Corn?
Yeah.
And I made a joke about like, I posted like what it's like going to Protestant Bible studies. And it's got Malachi. and he's like, so saith the Lord, the outlander, right? Like, and he had like the man in blue, right, who shall be the scapegoat, so saith the Lord, right? And they literally had this like scarecrow like up on this like cross, so it was like their scapegoat. I don't know if you remember that scene.
Yeah.
And it had like a police officer's uniform or something like that.
They were probably
And
BLM supporters.
Yeah, somebody was like, that's a straw man argument. A blue straw man argument. So, and I really wasn't. If I actually tried to make that argument, that really probably would be a straw man argument. It's when you take your opponent's position and you purposely misrepresent it, or you represent it in a way that's weaker than it actually is for the purpose of like ridiculing it, or be like who would want to go do like follow a stupid argument like that? Like anybody that believes this, obviously, like you make it, right. That would be a straw man. Now, so it's difficult sometimes too, because again, there's rhetorical use sometimes in kind of pointing out like absurdities of positions or something like that. But, you know, at the same time, if you're like, well, look, my argument doesn't hinge on that. Like, here's actually what my argument is.
Right.
But if like that was all your argument, you just purposely made, yeah, that would be a straw man. So people obviously do that.
Well, you know, and generally speaking, as trying to do Christian apologetics when you're dealing with non-Christian people, especially people who had a bad experience growing up Catholic or had a bad Protestant upbringing, is that they straw man Christianity itself over and over and over again. Yeah,
what's the one? Oh, you believe in old fairy tale dusty books, in sky daddies in the sky, right? Like,
right, yeah, the sky daddies.
Invisible sky daddies, right? That would be a straw man. It'd be like, oh, no, I don't. Who told you I believed in that? That's ridiculous. That's not my position. An invisible sky daddy, are you kidding me? Dusty old fairy books, like, again, that would be a straw man. What was the other one you asked?
Well, I think for another red herring that I see a lot is, again, as we've moved away from logic and phenomenology and people's experience, quote unquote, their own truth, quote unquote, that people make arguments from emotion. The appeal to emotion,
yes,
is so frequent right now. Again, especially from women. Just saying it. You know, you get your liberal woman or the new agey woman, and everything is an appeal to emotion, or it's the moral appeal. You know, that's what we get with these mask nonsense.
Yeah. So I had this like whole list of things, like when you're a COVID cult member and you know you don't know arguments or your arguments don't work, then you know, cite the, like, and I just, like, each one was actually a fallacy. Appeal to the experts, right? Well, who are the experts, right? So that could be begging the question. Mm-hmm. And when all else fails, mention somebody that you know that's died, right? Every single time, right? Like, oh my, well, my grandmother died, like,
that's how everybody I interact with that's in favor of this stuff, that's what they do. Well, I know 3 people that have died from COVID. Okay. Yeah. Were they overweight? Well, that's none of your business.
Yeah, that's right. And so, yeah, appeal to emotion. Also, this is important too. Emotive language that, like when we get vegans, right? So you think it's okay to torture and murder animals. I'm like, no. Well, you do go eat meat, don't you? So like, and they'll get so like this person was saying the other day that like, I'm sorry, like, I'm like, well, first of all, Christ allowed, like, so if like, I'm when it comes down, I'm going to listen to God and not you. Okay. I'm not going to get my morality from some bozo off the street. But they'll be like, I'm sorry. So you think Christ, because it was talking about that Christ was a pescatarian.
Oh my God.
And they were like, so I don't think so. So he would tell people like, and go out and like bash fish's heads in and like cut. And I'm like, who have you been fishing with? There's a,
you know, they used nets back in the day, right?
Yeah. Like there's only one way to fish, and that's to electrify the water.
Like your
and they're not going to die. They're not going to die then. You want to bring them out after they've suffered from that. And then you want to slowly just start beating them over the head, right? That's the only way to actually catch a fish, right?
Isn't that Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings? He grabs the fish and then he beats it against the rock.
Yeah. So, and I realized all the vegans' arguments, like, they only work if you buy into their emotive, like all that's emotive language.
Right.
So if you took that all out, like what's the logical like content of that? I caught a fish and it died. That's actually the factual. Well, that's not going to work, right? So they've got to add in all the, it's not catching a fish and it died and I ate it. It's I slowly tortured with my diabolical laughter as I suckle the murdered flesh of, right? They always do that. So that would be an appeal to emotion. I'm trying to think of another example. You're going to see it all the time.
The
right?
appeal
Everywhere.
to morality. It seems like this mask stuff, again, there's this insinuated moral high ground that I was very obstinate about wearing a mask throughout this entire pandemic. And so I refused back when they were still, you know, quote unquote mandated. And in my county, nobody kicked me out of anywhere. Maybe they'd roll their eyes or they'd be but I could move about on my day, but it would be some of the other people would come up, and then it was always how they were more moral and I was less moral.
What would that be? Oh, that would be a bandwagon fallacy.
Go into that. I haven't heard the bandwagon fallacy.
So everybody's doing it, right? Well, don't you want to be part of the moral crowd? That would be a bandwagon. Well, 99% of, let's see, let me get another example of bandwagon. It's hard sometimes to pop off the top of your head. Oh, it is also an appeal to people. Bandwagon's a species of appeal to people. This one's great. Of course you want to buy Zing toothpaste. Why 90% of American brushes with Zing? Let's just replace that. Of course you want to wear your mask. 90% of moral, upstanding, virtuous citizens who believe in science
yes,
wear their masks, right? That's a bandwagon.
So what would be then appeal to morality? Because I guess what you're saying is that would not be an appeal.
It's a type of appeal to the people. Here's two more species. It could kind of be a combination of this. Appeal to vanity. This one's funny. If I made an argument that you should join the Marines, why? The few, the proud, the Marines, right? That's my argument. And you're appealing to somebody's vanity to actually make that. How about appeal to snobbery, right? So I'm not going to appeal to your vanity. Well, David, a Rolls Royce isn't for everyone. But if you qualify as one of these select few, Right?
Well,
This distinguished
as you-
classic might be yours.
as you say that, what comes in my head is that much of marketing are using logical fallacies to trap
Oh, they
people.
all use yeah. I wonder if they actually have a course in how to train you in logical fallacies so that you actually market well. Because it's not about, and marketing is not about like that it's true. It's purely persuasive. Like, get the job done, get these people whatever it takes to like get them to accept the conclusion and buy the product, right?
Right.
So who cares about, like, truth oftentimes gets in the way. So so I think that, like, well, I was talking to my brother about it the other day. So we have in Montana a place called Livingston. That's where all like the elites, the Hollywood actors go, and they actually have their own private. It's like the millionaires, like ski club. That you basically have to own a home. The houses start at like 5 million or something like that.
Wow.
And then you have to make over like some figure just to be a member of that ski club.
Wow.
And my brother's like, man, like they love being like elites, like special, like
special.
And
boys.
I'm like, yeah, special, like only. Well, that's like appeal to snobbery, right? Like they got to create their special clubs and stuff like that. So I think that appeal to morality would fall into kind of like it's something like that. It's an appeal to the people, right? It begs the question. Well, suppose you had a really good. So, yeah, here's a great one. Suppose you had a bunch of saints, just real morally pious people, okay? But they were completely ignorant of mathematics. And you were like, well, obviously, like all moral people here get this answer and it's the wrong mathematics answer.
Right.
Like that's, there's nothing there's connected there logically between their morality and whether the answer is true or not. Now, if it was perhaps if it was a moral question and one's moral character was in question, that would be relevant. So do you see how these are fallacies of relevance? They're not relevant to what's being discussed or concluded.
Yes, relevant. Yep. So, like, I got a list here. It says some relevance fallacies. Appeal to the stone. Never heard of that one. It's dismissing a claim as absurd without demonstrating proof of its absurdity.
Oh, that's good. I haven't heard.
Appeal to the
Again,
stone.
you can name a bunch of
and
different.
That's one of the things you told me. So go ahead and tell everybody.
There's no like official list of, as long as something is a bad argument, it doesn't follow. It's not, the premises aren't logically connected to the conclusion. It's a fallacy, and you can name it.
So for the relevance
go ahead.
fallacy, I'll just list some of the ones I have here, but you can comment on them if you want. The argument from ignorance, that assuming that a claim is true because it has not been or cannot be proven false, or vice versa.
Yeah, that's a good, well, you can't prove that God doesn't exist or does exist.
Either
like
way.
it goes both. Here's one. I don't know if you guys can notice. Father Deacon's starting to get a little gray in his beard.
Oh, wisdom's creeping in on you.
Well, it's not wisdom. See, what actually is at nighttime. I don't know if you guys know this, but they're little elves that come out up here in Montana, and they've got these like white paintbrushes, and they actually paint my beard. And you're like, well, that's absurd, right? Yeah, but you don't know that they don't exist. You can't prove that, right? That would be kind of a fallacy from ignorance, right? I'm trying to think of another fallacy from ignorance. It's also like a fallacy from silence. Do you have some examples on yours?
I actually don't have many examples. I have a whole list in front of me. Argument from incredulity. I can't imagine
Yeah.
how this could be true, therefore it must not be false. And this is actually one, when I was reading about this one, I feel like I've encountered this one the most in the university, dealing with academics, is that
Mm-hmm.
the incredulity is that if you're presented with a claim or information that they're not aware of, that, well, I'm not aware of that. I couldn't imagine that being the case. That it's totally dismissed right off the get-go.
Yep, that happens
It's
a
totally
lot.
incredible.
I'm trying to think. Something like that came up recently, and I'm trying to remember an example of. Well, I've never heard of that. Okay, so you've never. What is actually follows? You've never heard of that. That's all that.
Yeah,
Where is that
that's
argument
not a truth.
from? Oh, these are hilarious, complex questions. Have you heard of those? Like loaded questions?
Yes, the fallacy of many questions.
No, it's like a loaded question.
Oh, okay.
David, have you stopped cheating on your exam? Answer yes or no.
So, would you call that one the argument from complex questions?
Yeah, or loaded question.
Loaded questions, yeah.
Father Deacon, have you stopped beating your wife?
Have you told your parents you're gay?
Yeah. Yes or no, and they frame it in a way that you can answer yes or no. Oh, this one's hilarious. You were asked where you hid the marijuana that you were smoking. You replied, what's it say? You replied, under the bed. It follows that you were in fact smoking marijuana. There was another one. Oh no, I see. It's a response to that. Here's the question. That's the loaded question. Where'd you hide the marijuana you were smoking? Answer the question. Like, you're damned either way. That like you set it up so there's like no way to actually be able to answer the question without incriminating yourself.
I had never.
Those are always funny.
In the list that I was looking at, I never heard the fallacy, the anecdotal fallacy. You know, a claim based on anecdotal evidence, referred to as the nut picking fallacy.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that either. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, like here it says the where'd it go? Command find nut. Yeah, the nut picking fallacy, using individual cases or data that falsifies a particular position while ignoring related cases or data that may support.
Yeah.
Named in contrast to cherry picking. So nut picking is in contrast to cherry picking.
That's good. I'm just gonna type in to get some examples real quick of the fallacy of ignorance. Examples.
As I mentioned,
you can't prove that aren't Martians living in caves under the surface of Mars, so it's reasonable to me to believe that they are.
You can't prove that.
Yeah,
aliens
that's
aren't
right.
In the center of the Earth.
Yeah, that's right. See, these are really fun, actually, going through and trying to find examples.
Yeah, they are. I told you before we started, there's one as I thought was the funniest name I came across. I never heard this one. It's called the Texas sharpshooter fallacy.
Yeah,
it's improperly asserting a cause to explain a cluster of ideas. So basically, you're choosing one little bit of a set of data, and you improperly assert that as the cause for a cluster of data. The Texas sharpshooter fallacy.
This one's funny. This example: the Inquisition proves the Roman Catholic Church is evil. They actually have that. I'm like, oh, I don't. Actually, I don't understand. I actually thought it was like an argument. I don't understand how that's the ignorance fallacy, though. Like, why they're... That's weird. Like, I don't think this person knows what they're talking about. Because, like it says, don't move to Seattle because it rains all the time. How's that a fallacy of ignorance?
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be...
Yeah, I don't think that person knows what they're talking about.
One of them that I think I hear quite a bit is called the "I'm entitled to my opinion" fallacy. so, so therefore, again, this is kind of the presupposition of the "my truth, your truth," right? That somehow each one of us, based on our experience or whatever my opinion is, has a piece of the truth.
Yeah.
So I have a right to my opinion fallacy.
You have a right to be wrong. All wrongs will be. We should make one where it's like the Miranda rights. Any wrongs that you state can be used in a logical court of law against you. Help me out, David. Come on. If you want to a logical attorney, but can't afford one will be provided for you. If you cannot think, we should do the logical Miranda rights.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and if like you go by all the lectures, I'll give you like a logical police badge so that you can actually go, because that's the best part about learning logic, right? Is so that you can go bust people. Right.
The logic police.
The logic police
get tags, and then underneath this little Orthodox cross.
Yeah, and you tell them, like, I'm gonna let you off with a warning, but next time.
Yeah, you're gonna have to appear in court for this one, big guy.
Yeah, take it up with the judge. Rather than the college, every time you argue with the college, we'll take it up with the judge, right? So we'll just say, like, every time they try to argue, be like, you know what? Take it up with the big judge.
One that I hear,
the foundations for logic itself. Yeah.
Related to whenever I engage with the New Agers, and maybe I'm trying to talk about Christianity, I feel like I get the genetic fallacy that they'll point to pagan aspects of Christianity, again, because we have logos spermaticos, that little pieces of again, we have a single epistemology, and sure, there's pieces of it that may exist in other world religions, even by the pagans, this or that, but they'll point to, oh, well, don't you know that this is from the pagans? The pagans did this, and therefore somehow they can dismiss Christianity entirely because it's just, they might as well be New Age, they might as well be pagan because it's all the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's another species of false cause. Let's see. But yeah, that's a good, or a post hoc ergo propter hoc. Let me try to find some more examples. But obviously a genetic fallacy would be that, what's a classic one? So genetic in the sense of like being prior historically, therefore causally. So chemistry came out of alchemy. Alchemy is occultic sorcery and non-science, so therefore it's chemistry. I think that's a classic example of genetic fallacy. Or the notion of, again, like you'd pointed out, and you get this within evolution too, similarities between species. Therefore, this species must be the cause of further developing species or something like that. Or you came out of it. You're the effect of that. That could be a genetic fallacy too.
Yeah,
that's simply because something, if something were prior, or that it, there were similarities, therefore that there's a causal connection. Yeah, what's another example?
Here's just one example. Of course, Joe's arguing that unions are good for the world. He's the head of Local 147 chapter.
Oh yeah, that's. Oh yeah, they had one about the Dalai Lama in here. That Did you ever see Seven Psychopaths?
No.
With oh my gosh, what's the Irish guy's name? I love the actors in. Woody Harrelson, Colin Farrell, Christopher Walken. Don't you remember Christopher Walken? And Sam Rockwell. I love Sam Rockwell. He's such a crazy. So Christopher Walken's in the back. So Sam Rockwell's like a sociopath, a psychopath, and they're going like to kill some people or something like that. And Christopher Walken's like in the back. He's like, well, like Gandhi always said, you know, an eye for an eye only leaves the whole world blind, right? And like you see, this is a great example illustrating like logic. So Sam Rockwell's like, you see him like thinking about it. He's like, no, wait a minute. He's like, first he's like, oh yeah. He's like, cry me like Gandhi. He's like, so he's like mocking. And then after he says that line, he starts thinking about it, and he says that, no, it wouldn't. He's all, that doesn't make any sense. He's like, not everybody would be blind. There would be one guy that
to poke out the last eye. Yeah.
To poke out the last eye, and he wouldn't be blind. All he has to do is just go run and hide. Like he's all Gandhi was wrong. It was like the perfect scene where he uses the actual logic to actually think through what sounds like a nice statement, like right. An eye for an eye only leaves the whole world blind. Oh. And he's like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Jeez, what I thought I came across, there's a name for a fallacy where you use modern cliches, like you end a statement with a cliche, and how that would be name good. For that. There's a type of fallacy for that, and that kind of falls in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Here's an example for appeal to emotion. See, my mom, she had to work 3 jobs on account of my dad leaving and refusing to support us, and me with the elephantitis and all our money went to the doctor's bill, so I never was able to get proper schooling. So really, if you look deep down inside yourself, you'll see that my fallacy here is the best.
That's hilarious. I bet judges hear that all the time. I want to find another. Oh, tu quoque. Have you heard this one?
No.
Oh, by the way, here's the Dalai Lama one. The Dalai Lama argues that China has no business in Tibet and the West should do something about it. But the Dalai Lama just wants the Chinese to leave so he can return as leader. Naturally, he argues this way. Therefore, we should reject his arguments. That's they classify this one as an ad hominem circumstantial. So like the circumstances, you're attacking Dalai Lama, but the circumstances of like doesn't have to do with the truth of whether you should reject his arguments or not. Tu quoque is and you too. A lot of people do this, especially in like families, right? They're like, well, I learned it from watching you. those drugs. So this one has child to parent. Your argument that I should stop stealing candy from the candy store is no good. You told me yourself just a week ago that you stole candy when you were a kid. Well, does it actually make so your mom did something wrong? Does it actually make the action right? So that's attacking. So somebody's character, your mom's character, or like whoever you're saying, and you too, has nothing to do. It's irrelevant to whether the conclusion is actually true. You shouldn't steal. You shouldn't do drugs or something like that. So that would be a tu quoque.
Oh, I see. Here's I found a site real quick that it looks like they've kind of named their own fallacies.
Yeah, those are the best.
So they named one the plurium stupidium, the fallacy of much stupidity. And they described it as consists of several stupid comments and properly grouped into one. Often a single refutation is expected against all the nonsense. And so Some examples. Gas prices are so low today that I think I'll fill every container in my house to make my own strategic oil reserve by stockpiling all the gas in that nook next to the fireplace. We should let women we should let women rule the world because they drive cars better. I've decided to spend the rest of my life sitting right here and eating this cheese.
Oh, have you heard about the gambler's fallacy?
No.
So, non causa pro causa. We're also a post hoc erga propter hoc. No cause for the cause. An alleged case can occur either prior to or concurrently with the effect. It differs from the other fallacies, what are called false causes, in that the single factor selected for credit or blame is often responsible for the effect, but responsible only to a minor degree. The last variety, they call the gambler's fallacy. This fallacy is committed whenever the conclusion of an argument depends on the supposition that independent events in a game of chance are causally related. Mm-hmm. So here's an example. A fair coin was flipped 5 times in a row, and each time it came up heads. Therefore, it's extremely likely that it will come up tails on the next flip.
Oh, great. Oh, no, that's a good one.
Isn't that a good?
It is, because that superstitious belief, actually, a lot of people believe it. You know, don't go to that table. Everything's coming up red.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm trying to think there. Let's see. Dan White argued that Twinkies, Coke, and potato chips caused him to kill San Francisco Mayor Moscone. Other attorneys have blamed their clients' crimes on PMS, rap music. Well, I actually probably would. Child abuse, mental retardation, hallucinations. Anyways, it goes through.
I got one titled.
I don't know how that's a gambler's fallacy. But
I got one titled Retardio Terminorum, Fallacy of Retarded Terms. Example, major premise, that's lame. Minor premise, lame is pathetic. Conclusion, you're lame.
Send me that, because I'm actually putting together a book that I want to come up with these like popular like philosophy books. So I can't, obviously as a philosophy professor, you can't make a living. So you notice all these philosophy professors come up with like Star Trek and philosophy.
Yes.
Philosophy for Dummies, The Simpsons and philosophy. Friends and philosophy. And then they get them in Borders or Barnes and Noble or something like that. And that's how you actually make money. So that I was thinking, it would be kind of cool to like talk about philosophy at kind of a low level and kind of a humorous way.
Yeah, I just emailed what I'm looking at to you, and so he has like hilarious, again, these retardio terminorum.
Yeah.
Major premise: white is the new black. Minor premise: silver is the new gold. Conclusion: I'll buy that one.
Oh, this is great. This is right up my alley that I want to do. So, by the way, one book I want to do is Connect the Dots philosophy book. Like, I want to make philosophy really easy for everybody.
Yeah.
So, like, you can just connect the dots and construct your own arguments. Maybe you could even have like mazes too, where it's like try getting out of the Kantian maze or the Hegelian maze, right? And it's like super complicated, and then like let's say like you have some postmodern one and it's like straight, it's like Derrida or something, it's like straight, and but how about color in your own like philosophy books? Remember where it's like you get like different numbers and you color.
Oh,
but the real one that I want to do is
Father. They're saying
we're gone again.
It's back. Our clicking.
No!
The audio demons are attacking again. So here's my premise. We're just gonna start a new Zoom meeting. So I'm gonna end the meeting. and then just send you another link, and we'll just hop right back in instead of ending the stream and see if that works. So just 1 second. I'm just gonna end this. So just one second. Everybody's like, "Oh no, it's bad." Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna send you the link. Okay. I tell you, these demons of the air are terrible. They are not wanting us to talk about fallacies tonight, people. I don't get it. Okay, so... Okay, bam, bam. Now we just got to wait on him to join. Let's see if this works. So, right now, it's just me sitting here. And see if he hops back in and see if that will do the trick. Come on. Everybody say a prayer, please, so we can keep going here. That the forces that be don't prevent us from doing what we need to do. Okay, here he's back. Father's coming back in. Okay.
Let's see, join audio.
Audio connected. Sound good to me.
Yeah, we won't know until it goes into what in the world.
I know it right at the hour mark again. It was like right around when it turned 1 hour on the last one. We got
it. Interesting.
Here's again. We just got to another hour, and all of a sudden it happened again. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But how's his sound now? Everybody can see you now. So,
and it's on the same. Is it on the same one, or is there another?
No, it sounds great. So,
see
what the heck? Makes no sense.
Well, I'm glad we figured out how to fix it real quick.
That is the weirdest thing in the world. Makes no sense. Huh.
No, can we make a fallacy based on? All right, let me give you a couple ones that I came up with.
The bad audio fallacy. I hear bad audio, therefore they must have done something wrong.
Yeah. So this book will be entitled 100 Informal Fallacies That You Probably Never Heard Of, but that your friends and family members commit at least 10 times a day. Okay. Actually, a lot of these I just got from their funny names that I came up with just from watching bad atheist debates and listening to people debate. Oh, how about you're not a woman fallacy?
Shoot, the feminists like to use that. Well, actually, I don't even know because everybody's a woman.
Yeah, that's right. I saw somebody recently did a funny one too. They were like, well, you wouldn't understand because you're not a man. You just turn it back on. Well, since women are emotional and men are logical, I mean, obviously you wouldn't know what it's like to use logic. You just turn it back on.
You should. That's not a fallacy though.
So I don't know what it's like to be a woman, so murder is not wrong. But by the way, that's actually a helpful tactic. Repeat somebody's argument back to me. Let me just get that straight. That's what you're actually saying. You don't know what it's like to be a starving grizzly bear out in the middle. Therefore, it's not wrong to chew up your neighbor and.
On that one link that I sent you with all these funny ones.
I saw it. Yeah.
The retardio terminorum one, the last one, is nothing is too good for the king. A bowl of oatmeal is better than nothing. A bowl of oatmeal is too good for the king.
That's hilarious. Okay, I have another one. I call it the British accent fallacy. When you can't make an argument or convince the people, just switch into a British accent, and then people might believe it. My opponent, right? Or just bollocks. My opponent. So I notice that people play up on like that. So that's called the British accent fallacy. Just because you can speak like a Brit doesn't mean that your argument's good. Okay. Well, actually, you brought this up earlier, and I actually identified it as my own fallacy. Well, you said, how did you put it? That you heard somebody say that.
Oh, the Fuentes.
We all know. What was the one that you'd mentioned that?
Well, I mentioned poisoning the well because
Yeah,
a claim would be made, and then instead of addressing the claim, it was that, well, if anybody knew anything, basically they wouldn't make that argument, and then they would move on to a totally different argument.
yeah. So it's similar to this one because I heard this in like the Hitchens and Dawkins debates, and well, we now know that the Bible is fairy tales. We have science, right?
Right.
It's the we now know fallacy, right? Everybody knows that fallacy. What's well, this one's good. This one's actually
Father, I got to share this one with you. Somebody super chatted this one. They said the fascist deacon literally argued that a straw person in a cop suit is the straw man fallacy. What a fool. Therefore, orthodoxy is wrong.
Yeah, that's a good. What was that? The fascist deacon fallacy?
Yeah, the fascist deacon fallacy. Good. The fascist deacon literally argued that a straw person in a cop suit is what the straw man fallacy is. What a fool. Therefore, orthodoxy is wrong.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Somebody trying to help us out. That's Gen Z philosophy. Thank you very much, brother, for the help.
Is the 109 fallacy a fallacy or fact? Okay. The crackling voice fallacy. What else do we have in here? Okay, here's another one. This actually Bonson calls the crackers in the pantry fallacy. And it's a fallacy of kind of like, I would say, there's several kind of fallacies going on here, but it's kind of arbitrariness. So you might hear that, well, if I just, saw the evidence for God, I'd believe it. And then you inquire into the atheist, what the evidence, it's like, well, obviously, if I can put it in a beaker, right? And they have this like very narrow, like restricted, arbitrary kind of definition of evidence. But really, the fallacy of the fallacy of crackers in the pantry fallacy is that you would look for evidence exactly in the same way. So when you're looking for evidence of somebody love, right? What do? Well, everybody knows you just open the pantry and you look just like you look for the crackers, right? Isn't that how everybody just finds love?
I wish. I'm still looking.
But this idea that there's only one way to like actually observe evidence and look for evidence and stuff like that. So that's crackers in the pantry fallacy.
Call that the slow boy epistemological fallacy.
That's funny. This one's funny. The unreasonable demands fallacy. So if God doesn't come down and down to the dock and explain to me why children are suffering and dying from cancer, then he doesn't exist. So I came up with this one to give to Jay. If science doesn't build a science machine to make a wormhole so that I can go back and kill my grandfather, I don't believe in science. Science doesn't exist.
Here's one you might like. It was titled the Ipse Dimwit Fallacy of Appealing to a Dimwit. It's a subset of an argument from authority, occurs when the cited authority is a dimwit.
Oh, that's good.
Homer Simpson once said, "Bart, with 10,000, we'd be millionaires. We could buy all kinds of useful things."
That's hilarious. The stupid pants fallacy. Did you see that one that they mentioned?
No, I didn't see that one. The stupid pants fallacy.
Consists of an argument in which substitution of identical designators in a true statement can lead to one that is stupid pants. Such arguments often neglect to consider the high prevalence of stupid pants entities. Fact 1, I know who X is. Fact 2, X is stupid pants. Fact 3, I do not know who Y is. Conclusion, Y is not stupid pants. So my cousin James lives in Iowa. He isn't stupid pants. So I'm going to move to Iowa where the stupid pants concentration is lower. If Bob is stupid pants, then Bill is stupid pants. So what it's doing is like, I see what they're like. They're just taking, what do you call it? A term and plugging it into. So the form's valid, but like it's not sound. If Bob's a stupid pants, then Bill's a stupid pants. If Bill's a stupid pants, then Bob's a stupid pants. Bob's not a stupid pants, therefore Bill's not a stupid pants. Okay, that would be a circular. So that's funny. So they're illustrating actual real fallacies.
Right, that's what I thought.
But in a funny, yeah.
It's because they're just using such absurd examples. And then he names them hilarious things.
Yeah.
Arguing from a position or state of dementia.
Oh, that's good. I'm trying to think of another. Oh, this one comes up. I noticed this with Muslims and atheists. It's I'm uniquely excluded from the critique that I'm applying to you fallacy. I'm going to use higher textual criticism on your Christian Bible. Now, you can't apply that to me. I have a Quran.
Right.
I'm trying to think of another funny.
Here's one, a fallacy of confusing terms. If no birds are dogs, no dogs can fly. No birds can swim, some fish can fly. No dogs are fish, some dogs can swim. No fish are birds, and all fish can swim, then all birds can fly.
Oh, that's hilarious. So they even got it in the symbolic notation down. We won't bore you with the predicate logic and symbolic logic terms there, but that's funny. He actually puts it into.
Yeah, the one above. I didn't read it, but the argument from or position from dementia, he just ends it saying tee hee.
I guess there's the belligerent fallacy too.
Oh, let's hear that one. I'm not familiar with that one.
I just made it up, but it's like when somebody just can't make an argument, so they just start getting belligerent, right? And angry and it shuts the other person down. So that's the belligerent fallacy. The what was the one that you brought up? The argument from incredulity. Do you remember that?
Oh, incredulity.
Yeah.
Yes. Command.
So I got a variation on that one.
I cannot imagine how this could be true, therefore it must be false.
Yeah, so I'm going to rename that fallacy.
Okay.
Well, that's too difficult. It's got to be false, i.e. the I'm retarded fallacy. See what I mean? Like you could actually give names to.
It's hilarious. Like if you write a book that is just filled with like real logical fallacies, but in such absurd, hilarious ways.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be a bestseller amongst people with half a brain. It'd be great coffee table material.
Yeah, exactly. Like a great coffee table book. So, oh, here's another one. Maybe you heard this. Well, it's the inherent properties of matter, of course, fallacy. Right? When you get stuck, what was that fallacy? Well, whenever you get stuck and you can't explain something logically, just make an appeal to, well, obviously it's the inherent properties of matter. Oh man, it's good times.
Let's see some
Other questions?
let me see if I can find some more funny ones. If anybody has an idea here, I can check the chat real quick. You might.
Oh yeah, I would like to tell.
Good one. Pronouns and bio fallacy.
Yeah. By the way, I'd like to actually just let you know what my pronouns are. My preferred pronouns are Lord, Master, and King. That's what I make people call me.
I just think anybody whose pronouns are they, them, it's just Legion is trying to refer to themselves.
Oh,
accurately.
wow. Nice one. Yeah. What if like I use that in my class? And I've never seen anybody actually. I've seen the like he, her and stuff like, or the, sorry, she, her, or whatever. I don't even pay attention to. They'll put it in like their emails or something like that. I've never seen they, them. But what if I was like, what if I actually made their grade like cumulative because they were like plural? They got multiple marks down. So like when they missed a point, it was like instead of being 1 point, it was like 5 points because they're a they.
Oh.
Could I do that? I could do it. I just might not have a job.
Oh god.
My wife, the fallacy.
I want to find funny ones.
While you do that, I'll try to actually look through here and see if.
You know, one of the things on a somewhat serious note, the true Scotsman fallacy.
No true Scotsman.
Yeah, the no true Scotsman fallacy. It gets leveled in Orthodoxy against other Orthodox quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I've seen.
Like again, I don't mean to begrudge anybody, but you know there are at times a sense of over pietistic sentiments within Orthodoxy, and they will judge other people, and that no true Orthodox person would do this or XYZ, and therefore question your own, I guess, piety, your own orthodoxy.
Yeah. Sorry, say that again.
Oh, I was just talking about the no true Scotsman and how basically it could be the no true Orthodoxman fallacy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You know that within Orthodoxy, it's been leveled at me before, for certain things, and sure, there's plenty of criticism. So I don't say whatever criticism people may have, but I don't know. I just was reading. It dawned on me. I thought about that before the stream, and I just now remembered that the no true Scotsman is like, well, geez, that's kind of been leveled at me in different ways.
They have it marked as a fallacy of ambiguity. But like I've argued too, you can have some of these fallacies be a combination of fallacies. So a form of equivocation and question beggings. The name no true Scotsman comes from an odd example involving Scotsman. Suppose I assert that no Scotsman puts sugar on his porridge. You counter this by pointing out your friend Angus likes sugar with his porridge, and I say, oh, yes, but he's not a true Scotsman. No true Scotsman puts sugar on his porridge, right? That would be... So... Let's say you're making an argument. I'm trying to think. Wait, like an Orthodox argument.
That we directly interact with the energies. That'd be a unique Orthodox claim.
Yeah, and I counter that.
Well, I don't like your coat. No true Orthodox person would dress like that.
Oh no, I call you out. I'm like, I don't know, and you're like, well, and you start quoting like the fathers, and I say, yeah, but no true Orthodox, no true genuine Orthodox. That'll be the no true genuine Orthodox. The schismatics guys.
Right.
Well, no true Orthodox would say so. Obviously, Polemus didn't know what he was talking about. Something like that. That would be.
Nick Offinger threw in 299. He said, "What about it's natural, therefore it's better fallacy?"
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's think of good examples. Oh, did you see? Oh, here's a great one. I saw an ad. Like it's natural, it's better. And it had a guy throwing away his vape pen, and he's like, "I'm going organic," and he had like his Marlboro Reds out. Like, it's natural, it must be better.
That's a good one.
That would be a good, yeah.
Over sun exposure, maybe trying to think of natural things that could be potentially.
Oh, I know.
How about dying from a wild animal versus a gunshot?
Right. Yeah, that's a good. It's funny because actually that's immediately, I don't know if it's just because I'm in Montana, but my mind went to wild animals.
I was thinking, yeah, grizzly bear jumped in my mind.
Well, I mean, what do you think's better, David? Do you think it's better to go to McDonald's or to eat naturally? And then you go down and hunt down your neighbors like the bear or the bobcat and tear them apart and be like, well, it's obviously natural. Like,
I would prefer their Chihuahua. Just kill their dog and eat their dog.
The only problem is that my neighbors aren't grass-fed. Grass finished. All right, come on, let's do some more. Let's come up with.
Let's see here. See if I can.
Oh, well, let me state something real quick.
Yeah.
It's not the name that makes these things fallacies. Remember, what did I say? It's the very concept that if something's irrelevant, the premises are irrelevant logically to the conclusion it's a fallacy, and then you can name them. So people get this confused. They'll be like, well, that's a slippery slope, or that's an appeal to authority, or that's an ad hominem. As if every attack on character, every referencing a slippery slope or appeal to authority, therefore has to be a fallacy. That's not how it works. In fact, you look at somebody's character, right, when you're in court, right? If you're trying to establish if a character is trustworthy. Nobody's going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's an ad hominem. You can't actually attack their character. Slippery slope. Are you guys familiar with the slippery slope?
I am familiar with that one.
If this, then this is likely to happen, then this and this and this. But in some cases, for example, if you think about like I'm trying to remember one that I came across the other day that these things end up being true. So if you don't combat pornography and censor like films or something like that, then, or if we don't have censorship, then it'll be easier for this to happen. If it's easier for this to happen, then like you're going to get smut all over the TV, right? But that's actually what happened, right? Like, so that actually follows. So when I was thinking through that, I thought about, well, here's the You're not saying that it's logically inevitable. So here's how you get out of the fallacy of that.
Mm-hmm.
You remove the obstacles. So, for example, if Jimmy's tends to be violent and lashes out and looks for like objects around him to lash out at other people, then if you don't have precautions, it'll be easy for him to get stuff. If it's easy for him to get stuff, then he will lash out and hit people with blunt objects or something like that. And somebody's like, oh, that's a slippery slope. But that's not a slippery slope argument, because you're not saying it logically necessarily follows, but it's extremely dangerous, highly probable, because you're removing the obstacles that would prevent that. So not every slippery slope is a slippery slope fallacy. Also, not every appeal to authority is a fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
Think about courts. We bring in authorities, right?
Right.
So I just wanted to make that, because people will get hung up on that.
How about,
too.
I just came up with one. I don't like your face fallacy. So that subjective opinions about certain things equivocate veridical claims being true or false.
I call it the physiognomy, the poor physiognomy.
Physiognomy fallacy.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Suppressed evidence fallacy. Most dogs are friendly and pose no threat to people who pet them. Therefore, it would be safe to pet the little dog that is approaching us now. It suppresses, and it has evidence, a presumption that it works, creating a presumption that the premises are both true and complete. So sometimes arguments are incomplete and you're presenting them as complete. False dichotomies are great.
Mm-hmm.
You would actually were terrorists. Either Seattle is in Washington or Oregon, or it's in Oregon. Seattle's not in Oregon, therefore Seattle is in Washington.
The appeal to novelty. I think this is one that a lot of people with technology and everything.
Yeah.
That again, the appeal to progress as better and all this different stuff. So my example for appeal to novelty is, we weren't able to chemically castrate our children 25 years ago with hormone blockers. Now we can. So it must be better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've actually identified that as, it's under the species of the myth of progress, but I call it the futurism fallacy. That simply because we're going into the future, we must be right and better.
Somebody in the chat, when we were talking about the physiognomies, they said, you have a deceitful chin.
That's a good... how can I trust? You have a deceitful chin. Okay, well, let's see. Does anybody else have any funny ones in here they want to add?
I think they're still waiting on us. We got all the pressure on our shoulders to come up with funny fallacies.
All right.
Let's see here.
Oh, this one came up with, was that Vegan Gains and Ask Yourself? I think Jay said that he started calling them out on fallacies, like informal fallacies. And they actually, I kid you not, said there's no such thing as informal fallacies.
What?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, bingo. I'm like, so I got another fallacy to add in my book. It's called the there are no informal fallacies fallacy.
Yeah. No fallacies or fallacies fallacy.
And then you ask them, and then it's like, well, because the infallible High Council of Logical Fallacies obviously had not written that in their book, so it doesn't exist. Like, so then you'll have the infallible High Council of Fallacies fallacy as well. The logical magisterium fallacy. When the logician speaks ex cathedra, then his
the appeal to poverty. You hear this with like the tiny house movement, that the appeal to minimalism and different things, and so maybe. Well, it's good for all of us to be poor. That way we don't purchase more things which cause more people to be greedy or want more people to possess wealth or things. I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. It's good to cut yourself and slap yourself in the face and poke your eyes out. It keeps you humble.
Yeah, the humility fallacy.
The humility fallacy. Oh, that's a good one. All right, I got to come up with. I'm starting to slow down.
Appeal to flattery fallacy. This is a real fallacy. So using excessive and insincere praise to obtain common agreement.
Oh, yeah, we had somebody in our Discord like that recently.
So, I claim the sky is green, but I really love your beard. You have a wonderful, wonderful beard, and I love the way that you talk. Basically, we're arguing the same thing.
Oh, that's a good one. Let's come up with it. We're arguing the same thing fallacy, even though we're not.
Yeah.
AKA, let's agree to disagree. To agree that I'm right. Oh, here's here's another one too that Jay and I always come across, and so I told Jay about. I'm like, especially because I'm doing like epistemology, right? And I'm always trying to go back to like these justify your first principles. Okay. So for example, let's say in Thomism, right, that takes this kind of empirical Aristotelian epistemology. There's nothing in the mind that's not first in the senses. And you might get this too, let's say, when you talk to New Agers, right? Mm-hmm. They give you a story for to explain the world.
Right.
But if you then move that question back and be like, yeah, but how do you know that story is true? I mean, I obviously know that you're talking right now and you're moving your mouth and you're telling a story, but I want to know, how did you determine that story actually matches reality, and what was the criteria and methodology that's what I want to know. So it ends up being sort of kind of a circular reasoning. So if you ask the Thomist, well, how do you know that's true? Well, because actually all knowledge comes from the senses, and this is how we learn and know. So it's circular reasoning, or begging the question. I also call this fallacy well, just grant me all my presuppositions without having to justify them, and then I can actually prove my case.
I think a great term for it is the I am God fallacy.
The AKA I am. So you can always add that, the AKA, i.e. the I am God fallacy.
Yeah, so I am God. Okay, how do you know you're God? Well, I took psychedelics and I experienced pure enlightenment, and that's how I know that I'm God. Well,
because
how do I know that? I'm God, and I said it.
Because that's what the machine elves painting my beard white told me. That's right. Did we talk about ad hoc rescues?
No.
Ad hoc fallacies?
We mentioned the poisoning the well as an ad hoc fallacy, or ad hominem, not ad hoc. We didn't get much into the ad hoc.
We didn't get into ad hoc. So, God, it reminds me of, and people do this all the time. So it's kind of a species of insincerity. No, not insincerity. Disingenuous. So let's say you get somebody on an argument, and they go, "Okay, well then, I'm going to actually then just say this and posit that." Okay, so you defeated me on the inherent properties of matter. Well, okay, it's not the inherent properties of matter, but the inherent properties of electrons. Now, those electrons, right? Or no, I'm going to posit a new entity or something like that to explain, to get me. So you get somebody on a problem that they can't get out of. And what do? They invent some type of category or a position that they don't actually hold to get out of that. That would be like an ad hoc rescue. And it kind of seems like all philosophy is like that. It reminds me of a kid, like two kids are having like an argument with each other. My dad's the strongest dad. He's like, no, my dad's the strongest dad. Your dad's not even strong. He can't even knock over the wall. Oh yeah? Well, my dad, when he drinks superpower juice, can. And then the other one's like, oh yeah? Well, then my dad drinks superpower juice times 10 and he beats your dad. Right? Oh, well then my dad superpower juice times infinity. Oh yeah, infinity times infinity. Like it's all ad hoc.
Right.
I'm like, well, God, that's kind of just like how philosophy is. Like one philosopher is like, well, that's not going to work. It's like, okay, well then what if I said this, right? I just made up this metaphysical. I just made up this metaphysical category.
I like this one. Somebody shared. Theory Zone said we can call this one the lawnmower fallacy. And basically, the premise is that you equate your own capabilities to tools that you use. So I mow the grass, therefore I am a lawnmower.
Oh, that's funny. It's very similar to the "you are what you eat" fallacy. That's hilarious. What else we got?
We have this guy. Somebody created an account called Super Boomer. And so
great.
they're like deliberately misinterpret everything we say as a boomer.
Oh, it's great. Why don't I see him?
Oh,
Where
you don't
is he?
see? It's just like an old man.
Oh, I got you, Super Boomer. Yeah.
He said, "What kind of hawk?" Talking like a bird hawk.
Yeah. Or he should have, Super Boomer, you should have came in when we were having problems with our audio and be like, "Well, did you check your floppy disk?" Maybe it was your 8-track playing. What could have been your floppy disk? That's hilarious.
Allison asked for more New Ager fallacies, please. Those are my favorite. Geez.
Oh yeah.
How about the external appearance fallacy? I put a lot of tattoos on my body, therefore I'm a very unique person, and there's nobody on the planet like me.
Yeah.
So your uniqueness is justified by exterior appearance.
Yeah. I don't need to make an argument. My body is the argument fallacy. The medium is the message. What's the guy?
Marshall
Oh my God, Marshall McLuhan fallacy, aka the Marshall McLuhan fallacy. What's funny is, speaking of New Agers, so like a couple months ago, my wife and I it was like last month, we were hiking up on Mount Helena, and there was this car. You've seen these, right? You couldn't even see any paint on the car because it was just stickers everywhere. And of course, I had the Skittles stuff and the rainbow stickers and stuff like that. And then it was my my goddess gave birth to your god. Like it was just like the perfect stereotype. And I was like teasing my wife because of, and then when the person actually came down, I was like, oh, talk about the physiognomy. It like totally matched everything that you expected. Right. I'm like, you didn't know if it was a girl or a guy. It was like Pat from, I was like, oh, this is so
Mad
hilarious.
TV. I haven't watched Mad TV in ages.
Yeah. And then it had like the he or she or whatever it was had the gauge earring, like the big gate, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I'm so unique that I look like everybody else that's unique. Right. Fallacy.
Exactly.
But what was so funny is that this guy, like, he had stopped and he was like reading the like all the, and I thought he was getting, I could see he was getting upset. And the guy wouldn't leave. He was just like sitting there staring at the car. Like, I thought he was going to actually kill the person. I was like, oh man, this guy's getting, and I'm thinking, how ironic that don't preach at me, right? Is they, like pretty preachy, don't you think? Like
two fallacies meeting each other in the woods.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's a good one.
So Gen Z Philosophy for $4.99 just threw in another, this is a good one. He said, we'll have to come up with, I guess this can be the I read energy fallacy.
Oh, yeah.
If you were more spiritually advanced, you would understand. His energy says something different than his words. And I know because I can read energy.
Oh, that's good. That sort of reminds me of, because when I was in high school and junior high, I went to Calvary Chapel High School, which is like a non-denominational evangelical. And I remember they would use the religion to like obviously control people's surprise, right? But they would do these things like, you know, God just spoke to me. He gave me a word of truth. And he told me that you're not actually, you didn't pass that test, right? And it's just like they were making this like stuff up, right? So that like I have a special access to God, and he spoke to me. I just feel that the Lord's telling me right now that your argument's wrong and you're a liar. We could call that's sort of like if you're more spiritually advanced, you would understand. It's similar to that one. The spiritual one-upper arguments, we get these all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Where we get people come into on our pages and stuff like that. Maybe it's like a no true Scotsman fallacy too, but they'll tell you that it's mean to argue and debate, and that if you were like, true orthodoxy is this moral piety. Is I come on here and I tell you how immoral and wrong you are by flexing my moral pious muscles, right?
Right.
That I'm holier than thou fallacy.
We'll just call it the Pharisee fallacy.
The Pharisee fallacy. Yeah.
And, you know, another one for again the sort of progressive left, it should be the countercultural revolutionary fallacy. Is that, well, I know I'm a countercultural because all the Christians hate me and I buy Colin Kaepernick's Nikes, and so, you know, I'm fighting the establishment because I buy from the Fortune 500 companies that support my message.
I know, that's right. What is that? Let's come up with another one. Corporations are evil capitalist pigs that just want to exploit people and all of nature. Then they all come out pro mask and Skittles and
Nikes
and like
BLM t-shirts,
then they're like
$10.
Yeah, trust the experts. Like, obviously all the corporations and all of us are on the right side of history.
Yeah.
Right? I can switch sides and be as unprincipled as I want, fallacy, and I'm still right. That's a good one. Oh, my cat's he doesn't like my cat trying to get out of the door, fallacy. Hey, bub.
Here's one. Radioactive Man 487 said, I have a good taste in indie music, and that's proof that I have the capacity to be sensible and recognize coherent principles in the world.
Yeah. I got another one. Okay, so I talked to my students about this. When you don't have an argument, or when something isn't knowledge or science, or you're being called out, simply apply the word science or use words that sound scientific to win the argument. So actually, there's some history behind this, because I'm trying to remember who was. It might have been like Auguste Comte or Saint Simon. No. Was it them, or it was like Proudhon or something like that? The socialists. They applied the word social sciences, right, to actually give them legitimacy. And then what you notice is, like when I was reading through Vogelin and stuff like that, they were saying the modern Gnostic is an attempt, a swindle, right? That he recreates this dream world in which knowledge is impossible and science can't actually be pure science, but is always intent on calling it science. So I was thinking about that like, son, did you know how fast you are? Do you know why I pulled you over? I wasn't speeding, officer. I was doing vector analysis of the force times mass times acceleration science experiment. And whoa. And if you really want to make this fallacy good, put on a lab coat and hold bubbling liquids when you're talking to the officer. My wife's yelling at me saying, you're wasting all your time grocery shopping. Actually, that doesn't work. It's always the other way around, right? Isn't it the wife that wastes all the time? What kind of store would I waste all my time in that the wife would?
Gander Mountain? I don't know.
Oh, the gun shop. That's always. It's so funny because when we go into the grocery store, I'm always like, okay, come on, let's go. Let's get the list right here. And why is it taking so long? And then when we go to the gun store, she's like, why are you taking so long? I'm like, well, obviously I've got to touch every single gun that's in the store and handle it.
Look, the unloaded gun, look through the sights,
So why were you wasting time, at the sports store? Well, it was shopping for. Well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't shopping. It was gun science tree. It was grocery science. It was, and they were like, "Oh wow! Oh, how about this one? You're accused of beating your spouse, and you say, well, it's not, obviously, Your Honor, it's not spousal abuse, it's marital physics." I mean, anybody that knows.
Marital physics.
You're a cult member, and now you're arrested. Okay, and they're like, my God, you were drugging these people and brainwashing them with psychedelics, right? And he's like, hold on a minute. I object to brainwashing. Isn't it just social engineering? Doesn't that sound much better? Right? So here's what you do. Bad ideas and sins that you apply the word science to, and it makes a bad argument sound good. That'll be called what do we call it? Let's come up with a name. I can't believe it's not science. Fallacy.
I can't believe it's not science fallacy.
Okay, so there's one.
I was seeing if anybody threw in some more real quick. I just had one. I freaking forgot it. Well, the perennialist fallacy. Yeah, all religions talk about God. Therefore, all religions are saying the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, here's one that goes in right up connecting to that. Perennialist New Age. I mean, man, I mean, it's like nobody's like absolutely right, capital T truth. It's like, hey, man, what if God was like an elephant and like we're all like blind, right? And one guy's like, God's and he's describing like the tail, right? Oh, hold on, man. But the other guy's like, no, man, that's like, you, you're wrong because God's actually a trunk, or right?
Right.
You've heard that one?
Yeah.
So I remember when I first heard that, I was like 18. And I remember like going, whoa, hold on a minute. Before we even get started, I want to know why did God make everybody blind? Why is everybody running around blind, right? So that's another kind of funny. When you disagree, just make it an elephant.
Regarding the
argument.
New Age, we can do the I get to sleep with your wife fallacy. That I'm spiritually advanced, you are not, therefore I get to sleep with your wife.
Oh, yeah, it said every cult member. Every single time. It's amazing. There's one you can predict.
Yeah, you can. You really can.
Oh, watch this. He's gonna actually tell us that like he gets that all wives are the property of him now.
Well, and you as the husband to the wife that I get to sleep with, you'll actually get some of my enlightened juices next time you participate.
Yeah,
so I'm really
right.
benefiting you.
Yeah. Don't be so selfish.
Really, that's your ego. You have way too much ego.
Oh, that's a good one. Don't be so selfish is I'm selfish fallacy.
Yeah.
Is I'm being selfish.
No, that's a really good one. Shoot, you could come up with tons of examples of that one.
Oh, what was another one that I ran into? This New Age guy, and somebody introduced me, was like, oh yeah, he studies theology, and he's like, oh wow, man. Have you ever heard of theology? And I was like, what? And I was like, no. And he's like, oh yeah, it's like the study of the sacred feminine, like God's a female. And I'm like, well, that would explain why I never heard of it and studied because that doesn't exist.
Yeah, our good Orthodox brother, Greek Orthodox brother Pano, just threw in $5. He said the
Nice.
Church of the Eternal Logos fallacy. You can't own a church, or the Orthodox dialogue fallacy. Orthodoxy and dialogue claim that I'm trying to start a real church and that I am.
Oh, did they really? That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, they wrote a hit piece on. They sent a letter to my dean, claiming that I am a white supremacist. And that I'm trying to create a psychedelic cult in the name of orthodoxy and create my own church.
Well, David, is that true?
David, have you told people what you're trying to do yet?
I thought we weren't supposed to announce that until at least like later in this year. The word salad fallacy. Yes. That is another species of the... Well, dang, Mo, it just sounds too complicated. I don't understand what it means. AKA I'm retarded fallacy.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it the other day. So the most recent paper that I wrote, got to remember the name of it now. Scientific Gnosticism and Technocratic Totalitarianism, I think was the name of it. And I delivered it like two highly esteemed academic Orthodox conferences with some of the best like professors and scholars we have. And it was received really well. People even wanted to publish it. And so I did a stream on it where I like kind of read and it was kind of going through. Mm-hmm. And this guy, I kid you not, he just in the comments of the YouTube, word salad. I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, it took some non-credential bum off the street to actually. So all these other people, they were obviously the ones that actually matter. Those are the ones that were obviously totally diluted. Like, you're right. I just took a bunch of words and I mixed it all together. And just like that, did my sorcery and made it sound intelligent, but you were the man. You were the bum off the street that were able to see through all my sophistry and semantical word salad. Got it. Thank you. Like, God bless you. Let me donate to your preferred charity, your cause, for saving me this embarrassment before I actually published it. Word salad.
Here's a spiritual fallacy. Surrender your ego and kiss my feet. You won't kiss my feet, therefore your ego's too big.
Yeah. Oh man, I had another one. Keep going. I'll try to remember.
I had one too. It jumped out. Pano said, my AP calculus teacher joked, officer, I wasn't speeding because I drove through a pothole when I passed you. Or I wasn't speeding because I drove through a pothole when I passed you. Therefore, my velocity was non-differential at the point you saw me.
Oh, nice one. If you know anything about calculus, that's good. You can't, determine with the instantaneous velocity. What was the thing? It was something to do with the Fortimites that you were mentioning.
The Fortimite fallacy?
The Fortimite fallacy. I can't believe they haven't come after me.
Gosh, I just had one. I totally forgot it.
It was in connection to that.
Oh, well, people keep on sending stuff in. It seems like by focusing on like the new age, or again, we can move to a different topic, but it helps bring some fallacies.
Yeah, maybe it was something with the new age.
Let's see.
Your chakra's invalid.
Oh, Rat Splat again. He threw in $5. This isn't a fallacy, but he said he enjoyed. Book club was a great idea and a lot of fun. I'm excited for the next one. Thanks again. This past Tuesday, we did a book club, a big Zoom meeting for
wonderful.
Justin Martyr's The First Apology, so they could go to my website, download it, and then people would read it, and then we would all get in a Zoom meeting and talk about it.
Marco.
Aliens are real, so let us. That's the there's no new territory.
That's actually
new territory to explore fallacy. So they penetrate your anus.
That's aka again. It's just a repeat of the cult leader fallacy. Oh, bear with me now, son. Just hear me out on this. Aliens. Man, I wish I had a good one and I lost it.
Let's see here. Let me pull up. Let's go back to a real name for fallacies and think up something. Magical thinking. Fallacious attribution to causal relationships between actions and events. Shoot. Well, we could go at my special crystal fallacy. Well, good things always happen when I have crystals in my pocket. Therefore, these crystals are super powerful.
So my brother's a sound engineer, like producer and stuff, like pretty big at that. And I was asking him about like, has he had any like weird like episodes, like where people come in and like they demand like weird stuff, like when they're recording. He's like, they had like somebody was like into feng shui that was like, can you like just turn the piano like he said that was weird. But then he did have people come in with like that'll burn like sage and bring in crystals and stuff like that. And he brought out like, have you ever met the alkaline water cult members?
No.
Oh yeah, there's this whole like I joke they're not literally cult members, but they start to act like it, right? They think that like what's funny is it's usually you actually need more your stomach needs to be more acidic. But they just go the opposite way. Like all the problems in your life is because you're too acidic and you're not alkaline enough.
Right.
And so they'll get alkaline water. And then it's this kind of anecdotal, also you could talk like the placebo fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, oh, which really is simply either a placebo or it's a false cause, right? And that no, in fact,
oh no,
now you don't know that you actually have cancer. Are we back?
Yep, crackling came
back. It's always at the hour.
Yep,
you're right.
Right at the hour, it happened again. So weird. So weird. All right, let me just create a new one. I'll send it to you right again. One sec. Right. What is going on with this crackling? That is so strange. I have never seen anything like this before. What is going on? All right. He'll be joining back any second. I hope everybody is enjoying the stream. Let's see here. I know. Tell Super Boomer to turn his darn hearing aids off. My gosh. He's messing everything up. So I just want to give a special thanks to everybody who's contributed to the stream. There we go. We are back. All right. We're back at it. I'm sure the audio is fine. Isn't that so weird?
Isn't it?
What? I mean, at exactly 1 hour, it all of a sudden it happens again.
There's actually a demon of the hour.
I know.
Previously on episode,
the Super Boomer said, I swear it's my hearing aid. My ex-wife used to beat me when I would interrupt Golden Girls.
Oh, that's funny. By the way, Matlock's coming on, so I need to give
Yeah, the old Andy Griffith.
Yeah, that's right. And then what was the other Andy Griffith? The one that I actually like is oh my gosh, why can't I blanking on the name of? Oh well.
Yeah, the magical thinking fallacy. That's definitely a good one. I think we were ending. You were talking about your brother.
Okay,
and the
so
crystals.
Oh, so the guy's like he takes the alkaline water.
Yeah.
And like regular water, and he holds a crystal over, and he's like, "See with the regular water?" And he's like, "See." I'll see the crystal moving, and my brother's like, "I see your hand moving the crystal. If that's what you're in."
You know, we should call that alkaline obsession. We should call it the basic bitch fallacy.
Yes.
They're trying to become more basic. You know, alkaline.
Yeah, that's a great
the basic bitch fallacy.
Yeah, what would we call that? Like, I just make it up.
Jay just hopped in here, so maybe he's got some good fun.
Yeah, Jay, you're great at this, man. Jump on here and tell us some names of like fallacies. No, he said he went
to PC.
Oh, that's a good one too. Like, anytime you get stuck in an argument, be like, "Oh, I've got to go to the bathroom," fallacy. That would be a good. I can't answer that because that doesn't logically follow because actually you have to go to the bathroom right now.
You feel free if you need to. Go ahead, man.
No, that was a joke. I just thought that would be a funny. Like the dude that every time he gets like challenged on something, gets stuck, be like, "I really wish I could answer that right now."
The full bladder fallacy.
Oh.
Yeah, we could, for the new age, it's almost like the energy, reading the energy, call it the Spidey sense fallacy. How, they just I can just sense it. You know, something XYZ is about to happen. I just know it.
The TV evangelist fallacy. Put your finger on your hands on. Let me transfer a word of truth to you. I see you, Jay, out there. I know you're sinning. Now come back to God. No, it's not God. It's Geod. Geod.
Jeez.
I got one for you, Jay, and dude. Bitcoin ain't real currency. It's invisible fallacy. Invisible, not real. Therefore, it's not currency.
Oh, that's a good one.
The boomer. The boomer currency.
Fallacy.
Yeah, the boomer crypto fallacy. Son.
That doesn't say promise.
Son, yeah, that doesn't say promissory note. Son, all you're doing is investing in imaginary places in your mind.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we got, geez, how many have we talked about now? Oh, this is a good one. Misleading vividness fallacy involves describing an occurrence in vivid detail, even if it is an exceptional occurrence, to convince someone that it is more important. That also relies on the appeal to emotion fallacy.
Oh, we've seen this, Jay. Yeah, we talked about the gambler's fallacy, the Texas sharpshooter, but I notice people debating you, and maybe it's a species of what was the fallacy you just named? What did they give it? The vividness. I call it the storytelling fallacy, right? Where they won't actually go into an argument. They're like, well, picture, if you will, a universe in which there is an infinite possibilities of, and there was men that were not quite men, but still primordial beast man. They came to, and they just start going through this elaborate like story, or they just start telling like a story. Well, consider this with me. There's a man, and he's a scientist, and let's say, and it's just this long, drawn out like story, and that's supposed to be the argument. Yeah, autobiographical. I don't have an argument. Let me tell a story fallacy. And get really vivid and long in the details. I've heard it so many times. I'm like, oh God, please tell me he's not telling another story. I mean, but what if we thought about it this way? What if there was, and they just could be like, oh.
Oh, that's the one I was referring to earlier. The thought terminating cliche fallacy. A commonly used phrase, sometimes passing as old folk wisdom, used to quell cognitive dissonance, conceal lack of forethought, and then move on to other topics.
Does it have an example?
It does not have an example, but let's see. What's a well? It's like the. I thought that was when you were talking about the Dalai Lama and the everybody would be blind fallacy. That's sort of
with the
cliche, yeah. So
Gandhi, yeah.
Geez, how many other cliches, modern cliches, could you come up with?
Oh, here's a good one. Mixing your metaphors fallacy. Well, son, you can shoot two bushes in a barrel, but you can't lead a cow to the. You can't lead a horse to its trough. It's like, wait, what? But you make it sound good. I can't remember, like, what are all the kind of sayings?
That's what I was looking up, some cliches, like think outside the box.
Yeah.
Can speak truth to power, hit the ground running.
Yeah. and so we could mix them and have our own fallacies too. I mean, obviously he was thinking outside the low-hanging fruit. I mean, obviously, 2 fish in a barrel is better than hitting the ground running.
Jay said the false either or fallacy, the fallacy fallacy is overlooked.
Yep. I'm trying to pick up clues from
the super boomer came up with a good one.
What's that?
We could call it the quantity fallacy. Well, kids today make more money than I did per hour, therefore they should be able to afford a house like I was.
Oh yeah. Here's one. The grass is greener on the other side fallacy, but it would be like, so you're living in the ghetto. Now you're on Skid Row. Somebody's just stabbed you with a hypodermic needle, and so now you get tested. You don't know what. You're getting hustled by it's not even free to live. You're getting hustled by the gang members who own that drug territory, and you have to pay them rent. And you're like, I got to get out of this place. And the person always jumps and it says, well, I mean, obviously the grass always looks greener on the other side. Don't run from your problems. I bring these up because, like, when I actually first talked about, like, not that I was living in Skid Row, but that we could have like an analogy, California. That when I was like started entertaining the idea of possibly moving up here, that's what people would. It was so funny, some of the arguments they give. Well, son, don't run from your problems. I'm like, what? Like, why isn't it solving my problems rather than running from my problems? Well, it's always going to look better somewhere else, son. Or the weather fallacy. Well, it's cold up there. Obviously, the most important thing in life is not whether you have a home, whether you're living in a garbage can being stabbed with a hypodermic needle, and being hustled for money for the drug dealers for rent for your tent on Skid Row. Obviously, it's whether it's sunny outside. Like, right. That's got to be, you've got your priorities wrong, son. I mean, it's cold up there. So I think we can make them fallacies too as well.
The fallacy of a single cause. The New Agers, well, if everybody just didn't belong to religion and became spiritual, then the world would be able to be enlightened, and then we could move up to a higher consciousness, collective consciousness. Or the psychedelic fallacy is, if everybody just took mushrooms, then we wouldn't have Bill Gates or whoever, That would fall into the fallacy of a single cause.
Imagine there's no religion. John Lennon fallacy.
Yeah.
As I start my own religion with my song.
Oh, boy.
Join my
the Yoko Ono fallacy. You have a naggy, whiny, annoying wife, and therefore you must be enlightened.
Let's see. Here's another one. How about the don't be so intolerant fallacy? Well, I'm intolerant of your position. That's something that I noticed about hippies and New Age people.
How intolerant they are?
So, yeah, there's a mismatch. So what they talk about, it really is like a hypocriticalness. They talk about peace, love, and unity, and why do we have to have all these dogmas? And like, why can't we just like all? I mean, we should be able to tolerate everything. And then you tell them, Then just tell them you voted for Trump and see what happens.
A spirit of modernity said,
Defy him.
He said the Vegas fallacy. I'm in a different geographical location, therefore I will change my ethical values.
Oh. When in Vegas, yeah. The when in Rome fallacy.
Yeah.
That's a good. Obviously, honey, we're taking this wonderful vacation to this Amazonian tribe that's a cannibal. I mean, when in Rome, right? Do is the Amazonian Romans. The Amazonian Roman fallacy. When it's okay to eat your neighbors.
I remember what I was going to say earlier is I posted a comic of it was a person and it said LGBTQ on their chest and they had this really long neck, and so that's what you saw the first time, and their neck was out of frame, and then the next frame their neck was still moving, the next frame their neck was entering into a window and it said the church, and then they were face to face with somebody inside the church and it said, "Stop oppressing me." with your worldview. And so the fallacy is you disagree with my opinion, therefore you're oppressing me fallacy.
Yes. By the way, I noticed that this semester I was just talking to my students about the concept of intolerance, and then it hit me. I'm like, what's funny about that term is that when you say that, like, I'm a tolerant, like we should be more tolerant, like of all worldviews. Do you know what it means to tolerate something? It means the thing's bad, but I guess I'm gonna kind of suck it up and just kind of deal with it, right?
Right.
Like, I want to know if they know that. Be like, so you are admitting the other thing's disgusting and wrong. You're just gonna tolerate it, right?
Right.
Is that what you mean by tolerance? Yeah.
That is a good one.
There was another one.
The Van Gogh fallacy. I cut my ear off, so the next painting will be a masterpiece.
Oh, yeah. He must be. What do they call it? The mad genius fallacy. Like, and people actually think this, that really smart people border on insanity. They're like always on a knife edge. Just, it's like, where did you get that idea? Like, although I think that if you look, most schizophrenic people have a fairly high IQ, above normal, above average.
I wasn't aware of that.
But that doesn't mean that, like, vice versa, that if you're really smart, like, you're bordering on schizophrenic. What? Do what, God? Shut her down? Okay.
Oh, here's the fallacy of being socked in the nose. It consists of defending a position in a really irritating way, such that the opponent has no choice but to point out the logical error in every physical and satisfying fashion. Examples.
Oh, funny.
Bring it, punk. Well, I'm right. That's just how it is. Why are you really arguing with me? It's because you're scared.
Yeah. That would be appeal to force or threat ad baculum. That would be a species of... Oh, how about this one? The church isn't a building fallacy. It's like... I'm sorry, like, are there actually people that think, like, the church is only a building? I can't tell you how many times I hear that, where it's like church isn't a building.
Well,
it's obviously a crystal.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I have kept you for over 3 hours now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
I appreciate so much the conversation. I will let you...
And it was fun too. See, learning and philosophy and logic can be fun.
Right. No, it seems like a lot of people had fun with this one and contributed a lot
Yeah,
to
thank
the
you guys.
conversation. Nathan Norman said, "Great stream and dialogue, brothers. Thanks for sharing these examples. Such a wealth of knowledge." Well, that's great. That's the point. Again, I'm learning just like you guys are. I'm trying to get better at these things. But yeah, the more I think the creating the examples helps the practice of seeing the form of these fallacies.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a while, and I know we think about doing a stream. We should do more of them. And God bless you in your work. You're doing really well. And
thank you very much. You as well. Gosh, I love listening to your streams and the wealth of knowledge you have regarding philosophy and orthodoxy, just generally speaking. And so,
thank you, brother.
Definitely be interested in streaming more frequently, no matter what the topic is. Hopefully we can do that. Again, we're friends on Facebook, and I see all your photos of Montana, and geez.
Yeah, people really like the nature photos, so I guess maybe I should start going into those side gig.
Well, it's so beautiful. For me, I don't have that natural beauty around me in Indiana. It's a little bit more flat. So you have mountains, you have, the forest, just the trees. You have the change in season. Seems like you're always posting just really beautiful photos.
Yeah, thank you.
But in regards to potentially meeting up this summer, I would be very much interested. Maybe we can get an Orthodox gathering of brothers.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. So Jay, if you're listening, obviously, and the Ortho Bros, we should definitely put something together where
yeah, I would be very
we'll all go whitewater rafting while we stream.
There we go.
Logical fallacies on the river. I don't even know if there's any whitewater rafting nearby, but that just sounded kind of funny. That'd actually be I bet that get a lot of views.
I bet it would. Just to hit out some of these quick super chats before we get off. Rat Splat again, our catechumen brother out in Utah. This was a gentleman who joined the book club. He is a catechumen in an Antiochian church, grew up Mormon, and he's slowly but surely going to bring his family into the one true church. So God bless you, Rat Splatigan. Matt, I appreciate it, brother. G. Cloven sent in $10 and said, "Can't afford a membership at the moment, but I think your work's great. Glory to God." Well, thank you very much, G. Cloven. I greatly appreciate that. And then we had our logical fallacies. Gen Z Philosophy for $4.99 said, "You guys are being mean, and all that stuff you're saying sounds a lot like something a racist would say. Plus, you believe a man with a beard lives in the sky."
That's right.
Then he said, again, Gen Z Philosophy said, "The fascist Deacon literally argued that the straw person in a cop suit is what a straw man fallacy is. What a fool. Therefore, orthodoxy is wrong."
Yeah, amen.
And then Nick Offinger said, "What about it's natural, therefore it's better?" We discussed that. Allison Jennifer said, "More New Ager fallacies, please. These are my favorite." And we did that for about an hour and a half. Gen Z Philosophy said, "If you were more spiritually advanced, you would understand. His energy says something different than his words." And I can read energy. Pano for $5 said, "Church of the Eternal Logos, you can't own a church. The Orthodox and Dialogue Logos concept fallacy." That is the real one, and that has actually been leveled many times. You wouldn't believe, again, it's all been women, like boomer women. Literally, I'll get private messages on Facebook or Instagram. How do you claim to be Orthodox and own a church? It's like, God.
Well, if you just tell them that, well, if you were as spiritually advanced as me,
yeah, if you could read energy like I could,
you'd actually know when you grow up spiritually, then you'll understand. But right now, just
Marco,
your baby toys. Yeah,
I know. For $1.99 said, "Aliens are real, so let's probe their fallacy." And then Keys, he threw in $3, and I was saving this one for the end because it kind of went off topic. He said, "What do you say to the usual retort by Satanists that their religion has nothing to do with Satan?" Well, in regards to LaVeyan Satanism, again, that's ambiguous. He claimed he was atheist. Some people claim they're atheists. But Keys, the real point is that Satanism is more than just the term Satanist or Satanism. It's a variety of different belief systems. And so when you get into what's called theistic Satanism, they absolutely believe in Satan. That's the whole point of it. And so they perform what's called the inverted Catholic Mass. And so they consume menstrual blood, feces, urine, semen, that type of thing as their communion. So it just.
By the way, did you know that the Marxists made Orthodox priests reenact the liturgy, doing the same thing too? I found that out when I was the Solovets monastery, where Solzhenitsyn was.
What?
And
I did not hear that.
They also did this in the Putech concentration camps too. If they found out you were Orthodox clergy, and guess what they do? They do it on feast days. And they would actually take the liturgy of St. John Chrysostom and they replace it with profanities and the Eucharist with defecation and urine and stuff like that. And I remember I was in tears because we were doing like memorial services over the graves of all these like martyrs up in the northernmost monastery in Russia. And it was just so moving. I was just like, I can't believe what they went through. And I realized, and I'm like, that's satanic. Like, it's actually evil. It's not just like some political idea. I'm like, if you do that. So it's interesting that you have the connection but that's actually what these theistic Satanists actually do.
No, they literally do that. In Berkeley, when I was still doing my classwork, there was a newer student there. She was doing her master's. And now she would be angry if I refer to her as a her. So it was a woman who identified as a man. And
a lady man,
but she only dated women, and so she referred herself as gay. So she identifies as a man who dates a woman, but she identifies as a lesbian. Again, contradiction. But she was a priestess, and she had her own satanic temple that she was starting, and she was always bragging about how 50 to 60% of the members identified as LGBTQ or one of those identifying labels. And then when she described in a presentation what they do, she was very open about the inversion and the menstrual blood, the semen, the urine, and the feces. A lot of people were taken back, and for her, that sort of shock was part of the excitement of like what she was doing. But she was what she would refer to as a theistic Satanist, and so she was always critical of the satanic panic and how the Christians are so dumb and they don't know what Satanism is, and they think all these atheists who go to like the Church of Satan, which is kind of the more atheistic, even though that's kind of the most popular in America. She was like, oh, nobody knows what it is. Everybody's so stupid. And then she was very open. And then she's in Berkeley, so everybody's, the school that I go to is giving her a master's degree for her religion. And so she felt very comfortable talking about the rituals that they partake. And basically, it's just the inversion of the Catholic Mass. So if you can just imagine how you invert that, doing as much as it would be similar to it, that's basically what they do on a regular basis.
Oh, by the way, you might be interested in this too. I know Jay knows about it, but in Eyes Wide Shut, do you know that like that weird... Let me ride the earth. Like it's this weird.
Yeah.
I found out. I looked up what that was. It's the liturgy in Romanian, played backwards. In the full-on like occult scene that they're having, and I was like, "Wow,
makes sense why it's backwards, because that's the theology, right? The inversion of God's creation, the inversion of correct order."
Yep.
Jeez.
But I always found it interesting, like why he had picked an Orthodox liturgy and specifically Romanian too. I haven't figured that out because usually everybody goes for the Roman Catholic Mass. That would have been the kind of usual.
Yeah, especially in the Western world.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just trying to be even more accurate and so they were trying to invert the one true church and the actual theology. But yeah, so people really do that, and
I know.
people are actually proud about it. So stay on your toes, people.
Yeah.
But anyways, brother, thank you so much, Father Deacon, Dr.
Thank you,
Ananias,
David.
for tonight, and just sharing your wisdom with us. And hopefully some people were able to pick up some fallacies and put them in their back pocket and pull it out as the logic police next time they encounter a violator.
Absolutely. Yeah. Seize the Outlander. What was it from the kids, Children of the Corn?
Oh, I forget.
The Outlander. Yeah, you too will be able to seize the Outlander.
All right, everyone.
Okay.
We'll have a wonderful Friday night, TGIF. Have a wonderful weekend. Get to liturgy on Sunday, and we will
Amen.
see you again on the other side, whenever that may be. So thanks again.